It began with a faint signal, broken and fading across the South China Sea. All officers, including the captain, are dead. Possibly the whole crew is dead. Then silence. No sound. No motion. Only the dark ocean stretching endlessly as if something beneath had just awakened.
Does anyone read me?
It was 1947, a world still healing from the scars of war. The ocean, vast and indifferent, carried the weight of secrets left behind by men. Through the calm waters of the Malacca Strait, the Dutch freighter Ourang Medan moved steadily, her hull groaning with age. The crew went about their routines, checking gauges, lighting cigarettes, laughing faintly under the fading sun. No one spoke of the cargo sealed in the hold, crates marked with foreign symbols, heavy and silent. To them it was just another voyage, another paycheck. But the sea had other plans. As dusk fell, the air grew still. The waves quieted. In the distance, thunder rumbled like a warning. Somewhere in that endless dark, fate began to stir, and before morning came, the Ourang Medan would cross from history into legend. The first transmission was faint, just a whisper through static. A Morse code operator aboard a nearby vessel tilted his head, straining to catch the words between bursts of white noise. It was fragmented, desperate, like someone trying to speak through water. Moments later, another message came through, clearer this time. "This is the Ourang Medan. We drift, all officers, including the captain, dead, possibly whole crew dead." Then a pause, a long, hollow silence that seemed to stretch across the sea itself. The Silver Star, an American merchant ship sailing a few hundred nautical miles away, was among the first to respond. Their radio officers called back again and again, their voices echoing into the static. "Medan, this is Silver Star. We have received your signal. Please respond. What is your position?" Nothing. Just the crackle of dead air,
Something
the kind of
much
silence
bigger.
that feels alive. The coordinates were finally decoded. A point deep in the Malacca Strait, far from any shipping lane. It was a calm patch of sea, motionless under the tropical sun, as if waiting for someone to come. The captain of the Silver Star hesitated. The message sounded real, but it made no sense. How could an entire crew be dead, yet someone still sending messages? Still, protocol demanded they investigate. Engines rumbled to life. The Silver Star altered its course toward the last known position of the Ourang Medan. The crew stood on deck, scanning the horizon. A flock of seabirds circled above the empty waves, then vanished into the fog. Hours passed. The sky began to dim, a gray haze swallowing the horizon. The sea turned eerily flat, the air heavy and still. The radar showed nothing but a faint, flickering blip, there one moment, gone the next. The men said little. Even the usual chatter on the bridge had stopped.
Oh my God!
Something about the air felt wrong, too quiet, too heavy, as if the ocean itself was holding its breath. Then, just as night began to fall, one of the watchmen shouted from the bow. Through the mist they saw it, a shadow on the water, a ship, motionless, drifting. And though no light shone from its decks, the name painted across its hull was still visible through the gloom. Ourang Medan. The Silver Star slowed its engines. They had found the source of the signal, but no one aboard could have imagined what waited for them there. The Silver Star drew alongside the silent vessel. No movement, no smoke, not even the faint hum of a generator. The Ourang Medan floated adrift, a steel carcass lost between sea and sky. Through binoculars, the captain saw bodies, motionless figures scattered across the deck, their limbs frozen in unnatural positions. A boarding team prepared to cross over. The water between the ships was eerily still, reflecting both hulls like twin ghosts. As the men climbed the rope ladder, the air grew heavy and cold. One sailor later swore it smelled of sulfur, sharp and metallic like burnt copper. The deck was littered with death. Bodies lay on their backs, faces turned to the sun, eyes wide open, unblinking. Their mouths were frozen mid-scream. teeth clenched as if they had seen something no human should ever see. Even the ship's dog, a mangy creature that must have belonged to the crew, was dead, fangs bared toward empty air, locked in silent fury. There were no wounds, no blood, no signs of violence. It was as though life itself had been snatched away in a single instant. The boarding party moved deeper into the ship. The radio room was abandoned, the operator slumped over his console, hands still reaching for the transmitter. The final message still echoed in their minds, possibly whole crew dead. In the mess hall, utensils lay scattered, untouched plates still on the tables. In the captain's quarters, they found him lying across the chart desk, eyes glassy, finger pointing at a single mark on the map, a circle drawn around their current position. The air was colder inside. One sailor said his breath turned to mist, despite the tropical heat outside. Another claimed he heard faint tapping from below deck, rhythmic, almost like Morse code. But when they checked, there was nothing. The ship creaked with each wave, an empty echo rolling through the corridors. No birds circled overhead. No wind stirred the flags. Everything was still, unnaturally still. The captain of the Silver Star gave the order to tow the Ourang Medan back to port for investigation. But as they began securing the lines, one of the men looked back at the bridge, and for a brief moment he swore he saw movement. A shadow, fleeting, formless, slipping between the bodies. He blinked and it was gone. That was when the smell hit them again, stronger this time, suffocating, like gas or burning metal. Moments later, smoke began to rise from the lower deck.
I don't know.
Whatever had killed the crew was not finished yet. First, it was just a shift in the air, a sudden drop in temperature so sharp it felt unnatural. The men aboard the Silver Star looked at each other, confused. The Malacca Strait was a humid furnace that day, yet their breath now came out in pale mist. A silence deeper than the sea itself blanketed both ships. Even the waves seemed to hold still. Then came the pressure, a low, invisible force pressing against their chests. The air grew thick, metallic, impossible to breathe. Radios began to crackle on both vessels, spitting bursts of static and distorted fragments of speech. One sailor swore he heard voices, whispers layered beneath the noise, murmuring in a language no one recognized. "Get back," shouted the Silver Star's captain. "Something is wrong down there." The rescue crew scrambled to untie the lines, but it was too late. From the bowels of the Ourang Medan came a dull, echoing thud. Then another, like the heartbeat of something enormous. Smoke seeped from the cargo hold, curling upward in slow black tendrils that shimmered blue at the edges. The smell was unbearable, a mixture of oil, burnt flesh, and ozone. One of the rescuers leapt back to the Silver Star just as a flash of light erupted from the freighter's midsection. The explosion tore through the hull, ripping metal apart like paper. A roaring firestorm engulfed the decks, consuming everything, bodies, crates, steel, all swallowed by the flames. The Silver Star's crew watched in horror as the inferno spread. The sound was deafening, the screech of tearing iron, the hiss of steam, the desperate howl of fire meeting seawater. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the Ourang Medan lurched to one side. Her structure groaned, split open, and collapsed into the waves. In less than 10 minutes, the ship was gone. Where once floated a mystery, now remained only black smoke and drifting ash. The men stared at the empty water, the surface boiling where the freighter had sunk. The radio fell silent again. The sea returned to calm as if nothing had happened. But those who stood on the deck that day swore the silence that followed was not peace. It was warning.
What is it?
In the days that followed, the ocean swallowed every trace of what had happened. No wreckage drifted to shore. No bodies were ever recovered. When the Silver Star docked and filed its report, the authorities dismissed it, claiming there was no record of any ship named Ourang Medan registered under Dutch, British, or Indonesian flag. It was as if the vessel had never existed. The survivors were told to forget, to move on, but they could not. Each man carried home the same memory, not of the fire nor the explosion, but of the silence that came before, a silence that clung to them long after they left the sea.
I think I know who did
Some of the
this.
crew spoke in whispers about what they saw.
Are you
The
sure?
look on the dead men's faces frozen in terror, the strange chill that seemed to seep into their bones. Others refused to ever sail again. A few simply disappeared, leaving behind journals with half-written sentences and sketches of eyes staring from the dark. Years later, whenever storms swept across the Malacca Strait, old sailors swore they could still hear it, that same faint SOS repeating over the radio,
I still
lost in
see their
static.
faces in my
All
dreams.
officers dead. The sea, as always, gave no
Every
answer,
last one of them.
and the Ourang Medan remained a ghost, not just of steel and smoke, but of fear itself. Because some stories never sink. They drift, waiting to be heard again. In the years that followed, theories drifted across maritime circles like fog over the sea. Some claimed the Ourang Medan was carrying a secret cargo, chemicals or cyanide left over from the war, leaking toxic fumes that suffocated the crew in minutes. Others believed it was part of a covert military experiment, a ghost operation gone wrong, erased from every record before the truth could surface. But the details never aligned. The temperatures described by the rescuers did not match the effects of any known gas. The bodies showed no burns, no signs of poisoning, only fear. Pure, incomprehensible fear. Then came the whispers. Stories of radio operators who heard the same SOS again, years later, replaying like an echo from nowhere. Of sailors who saw strange lights where the ship was said to have sunk, blue-white flashes beneath the surface, vanishing when approached. Paranormal researchers suggested something else entirely, that the Ourang Medan encountered an unknown force, a phenomenon beyond human understanding. A doorway perhaps briefly opened and then sealed forever. No official report was ever confirmed. The name Ourang Medan remained a myth in maritime archives, a ghost ship with no birth certificate and no grave. But legends, like the sea, have a way of surviving. And the more the world tried to bury her story, the louder the ocean seemed to whisper it back. Today, the ocean still drifts quietly above her unmarked grave. No wreck was ever found, no truth ever surfaced. The Ourang Medan vanished, leaving only whispers carried by the tide, faint, cold, and eternal. Perhaps the sea does more than guard its secrets. Perhaps it keeps what it claims, the ghosts that never wanted to be found.